We are back again for another edition of Weather in the Bible. But today's kind of like a big old calamity.
It is a big old calamity, but good news. We are going to have some weather right now that is very calm. Things look good right now. But we are keeping our eye on this system out here because this system is going to move in and we are going to get some storms. Like, this system is going to bring with it lots of wind, lots of rain. I'm talking like boaters, you're not going to want to be on the lakes and in the seas. You're going to need to get yourself to safety because you are not going to want to be caught out in open water when this system moves in.
And guess what? The only way to solve it or stop it is throwing someone overboard. Who hasn't learned his lesson?
I hope it's not me.
Okay, you're going down.
Don't take out the weatherman. I am just delivering the news.
Yes, because there's even a phrase like red skies in the morning, sailors take warning. Red skies at night, sailors delight. Like, this is a red sky.
We got a red sky.
Get off, people. So we are talking about Jonah. Because Jonah said no to God.
Yep. God wanted Jonah to go to Nineveh. He wanted to go to Nineveh. He wanted him to go to Nineveh and tell the people about God. And Nineveh had a little bit of a reputation at this time. They were not godly people, and people knew this about them. And so it was kind of like Jonah drew the short straw and having to go and was like, I really don't want to. And so he did what a lot of us do when God tells us to do something that we don't want to do. He took matters into his own hands.
And he ran away.
And he tried to run away.
He tried to hide from God. All seeing, all knowing.
Yep. Just like Adam and Eve tried to hide from God, and that didn't work out. This also didn't work out. Spoiler alert. So Jonah runs down to a boat heading to the opposite direction of Nineveh. Goes onto the boat, convinces them to let him board, gets on, goes down below to take a nap.
Yeah, doesn't even help out on the boat.
No, goes down to take a nap. My kind of guy. Takes his nap, and all of a sudden he wakes up to the captain of the ship shaking him, waking him up, wondering how he can sleep because there's a great storm.
And then guess what? They cast lots to figure out
who's responsible
for the storm. And Jonah finally comes to his senses and says,
I think it's
this storm will stop if you throw me overboard. And they're all thinking, okay, goodbye. I would be.
It took him a little convincing at first because it does tell us that the men did their best to try to row to sea or to shore. They were going to try to just save everybody, but then there came a point where they recognized that it was just way too dangerous. They were never going to make it. They needed to do something. And so over went Jonah. And what happened? Immediately, everything got quiet. And the storm stopped.
I mean, that would be kind of a really neat thing to witness, just because, one, if you know that bad weather's coming, like, you just don't go out in the middle of the water, right? I mean, you don't. You usually take cover. You hide in your house. You get to shelter somewhere. But they had no idea this storm was coming. So they couldn't even say, oh, let's not go out because the storm is coming. Because God literally sent this storm just to teach Jonah a lesson because he thought he was going to hide from him. So they're out in the middle. So I've never experienced all of a sudden like storm and then stop. I mean, the disciples later in the New Testament will, when Jesus says, peace, be still. And I guess we kind of witness it now where a storm can roll through and the next thing you have sunny skies, because then what do you have in the sky? A rainbow. But I've never been out on the water, so I can't imagine the fear and the freaking outness that you're experiencing because of Jonah.
Right. And then recognizing, though, that it is God's way of communicating with this one person. Because even Jonah right away was like, this is because of me. And the people on the boat knew that he was running from God. He was upfront and honest about that when he got on the ship because they let him on. And so the fact that even he could recognize that this is punishment for me, they recognized it enough to be like, all right, we'll throw you overboard. I mean, that's like kind of against every ship's code of ethics that you
want to save the person that fell overboard, not throw them over on purpose.
I mean, so the fact that they can witness all of that and then to see the storm stop immediately, you had to see God's hand in that. But for poor Jonah, the story wasn't over.
This was his Louisville Slugger, his wake-up call to listen to the Lord, because not only does he experience the storm and then get thrown into the water because of it, but then God says, time out. We're going to make you think about it a while.
Yeah.
And chomp, gets swallowed by a big old fish.
Big fish. We have no idea. Again, like in the beginning, we don't know what the fruit was that Adam and Eve ate. We tend to make it into an apple. We have no idea what kind of actual fruit it was. We tend to make this into a whale that swallowed Jonah. We have no idea. The Bible tells us a great fish. It could be a fish that God designed specifically for this moment. It could be a fish that we study and can see in ocean waters today. We have no idea. But God sent a great fish. Jonah took his time out.
Listened.
Yep. God could send
his way to Nineveh.
God could send a storm and immediately quiet the waters to show his power and that he was in charge and that we had to listen to him and do what he says.
Because he knows the best plans for us. Not like Jonah, who took it into his
Jonah
own
just thought he knew.
All right, well, join us next week for another forecast, fabulous forecast from meteorologist Jaime Green in another edition of Weather and the Bible. See you then.